Hi, this is Irina Shea, and this is part of our Wealth and Wisdom video series. Today, we're going to talk about what are remote beneficiaries. So, I'm going to share my screen with some thoughts. Remote beneficiaries in an estate plan are basically who would inherit if everyone else you've named is not then living. So, we call it sometimes the wipeout clause, right? The wipeout clause or the disaster clause, or the legal term is remote beneficiaries, right? So normally in an estate plan, you're naming spouse, then children, then grandchildren, and you have a formula that trickles inherited assets down the bloodline, either outright or in trust. And if you don't have children, it might be siblings, or nieces, nephews, right? But either way, there's a sequence to this. So the backstop is if hypothetically, and this is extraordinarily unlikely to happen, and I don't want people to go down a rabbit hole with this, but if you're on the plane with your entire immediate family, this could theoretically happen. The discussion becomes who would then inherit your estate. So remote beneficiaries are typically your siblings, nieces, and nephews. Okay. If your spouse, children, grandchildren are not there, that's typically we go out to the sides and then down. Sometimes it's parents, but they're aging and may need long-term care. They're generally not ideal candidates for a remote clause because they are older. And it's better to leave it to the siblings who can then hold funds for care for their parent if needed. But we, of course, talk about all these nuances in our meeting. And then sometimes the remote beneficiaries are charities, can be charities. So charities that are going to be around no matter what. So instead of family members, you name, 3 to 5 of your favorite charities. And even if a charity is no longer in existence, we say if that charity is no longer running, to a similar or like charity. So if it's a tiny local animal rescue that gets absorbed later into a larger animal rescue, as an example, we allow we allow for that. There's language for that. If it's a large charity, say St. Jude's, it's not going anywhere. Okay. There's an article actually in the Wall Street Journal this morning about certain smaller universities, unfortunately, finding it hard to sustain themselves. So if your alma mater was a very small institution, there's a good reason to say similar charity in that case. So those are the remotes. If there is no remote named, it defaults to intestacy. Every state has an intestacy statute, state statute, including New Jersey. We have a whole separate video on this if you'd like to see it, but it basically looks around and says if everybody's gone, who's left, right? And they go up and around the family tree to parents, siblings, and the collateral relatives. And if they can't find anyone at all who is fits the categories in that statute, you may have to hire an heirs search firm. Okay, very, very rare. So I would say that number 3 is probably the most pragmatic choice for most people, just to say, look, if everybody's gone, which will never happen, my siblings, nieces, and nephews will take my estate. That's the most logical for most people. Hope this has been helpful. If you'd like to learn more, just go to our website at irinashea.com, click the Get Started tab, and there are no charges for our initial consultations. Thanks.